Listen, if you have ever dealt with hyperpigmentation and acne in a way where you felt like you were on a hamster wheel, you're like, when am I gonna be able to get off? This thing is driving me crazy. You definitely want to check in for today's video. Now, don't be intimidated by the length of the video. There will be timestamps. There's important information that you really need to hear, especially if you're someone who has particularly sensitive skin. And again, like I said, like you felt like you were on the hamster wheel when it came to acne and hyperpigmentation, because what our next guest is about to say is groundbreaking. So keep watching. Now guys, what makes this series keep on running, because I would love to do like 2 of these videos a month, is by having viewers quite like you come on the channel and talk about your hyperpigmentation journey. So I will leave some information in the description box where you can contact me so you can be on the channel as well. Now, our next guest does have a medical background, but it's not in skin, so she really had to kind of do some sleuthing to figure out what worked for her skin, even after seeing some dermatologists that did absolutely nothing for her. A lot of what she learned came from watching YouTube channels like mine, but mostly Dr. Alexis and Dr. Vanita Ratton's channels, which I will link below so you can get more information. But enough from me. Let's get into this video.
Thank you so much for having me on your channel and allowing me to share my story with you. I'm a big fan of you, Danielle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That just really warms my heart, because you know what? When I do videos, sometimes it's just like I'm just talking to a camera initially when I'm filming it. So it's like a little weird. But now that I get to like talk to you guys through things like, I was about to call this Skype. This is not Skype, this is Zoom. But when I get to talk to you guys like through stuff like this, it's amazing.
If I can help one person out there, I just don't want anyone to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so excited about this video, because I really want to get information out there to help people.
So tell us about your journey with your skin. So how did you get the hyperpigmentation?
Oh God, how long do you have? Okay, so my issue started when I was 18.
Yeah.
Before that, I had what they call baby bum skin. That's what I had until the 18th. And then on my 18th birthday picture, even when I look at it now, you can see a spot just poking out of there and saying, hello, I'm going to be coming and going for the next decade. And that's what happened. That was my first spot. And I thought, if I ignore it, it would just go away, because I hadn't had any problems before with my skin. And I didn't know what treatments to do. So my mom said, look, nobody in our family had spots after this age, so it'll probably go away, just ignore it. I was in denial for a while. I ignored it. Nothing happened. And then it actually got worse. Over the last 4 or 5 months, it started spreading all over my face. And that's when I started panicking. And at this time, all my friends, their spots were going, their face was clearing. And it was as if I had inherited all of their spots onto my face. That's what it was like. So I was, I just wanted to try anything and everything. So I was young, I was desperate, I was vulnerable, and I was impatient.
Yeah.
So I went to Boots, which is our local drugstore here, and I just bought everything I can over the counter. Anything that said anti-acne, anti-spot, anti-mark, I got it.
Yeah.
And I tried it. Nothing worked for me. And you know what, to be honest, I didn't give them enough time to work because I was so impatient.
Yeah.
And anybody who told me about a DIY, I was on it. And our in our culture, our mums, our aunts, they all tried DIY, and it worked for them back in the days.
Right.
So they'll tell me, oh, put a little bit of lemon drop, when you get a spot. Yeah, that didn't work for me.
Okay.
Break out more. My mum tried all that in her days. She used to wear soap to there was no cleanser in their days. She never wore sunscreen. She wore just like lemon drops on just those spots. And she's got beautiful skin even now. absolutely beautiful. So she couldn't understand what was happening to me. And she's like, you must have inherited something from me. So I just couldn't figure it out. And I made 4 major mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the mistakes was that I was impatient. I tried so many things at the same time, and the acne just got worse. And I was listening to anyone and everyone, and I wasn't reading the ingredients. I believed in the claims that the companies were making.
Yeah.
Because even when I turned the ingredient around, at that time, I was 18. I couldn't understand what all that.
Right.
I couldn't understand what they were on about. So
Right.
if it said this is going to help your acne, I had it. And I think majority of the stuff in Boots, I had it in my drawer.
Yeah.
Not educating myself about skin. Yeah. And also trying too many things at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what? I'm glad that you realize that, because a lot of people make those mistakes and don't realize it, which is why I think it's so important to, hear your story, because somebody might be going about their day thinking, I'm just, cursed and I'm always going to have this issue. And then they hear something you say and then it clicks and then it's like, oh my God, I need to do that. So I'm glad that you're able to talk.
Some level, we all know to some extent what we have to do, but it isn't until somebody points it out that you actually start putting that into action. But every time I tried a product, it will work for me for about 3-4 months, and then it would just stop working.
Yeah.
So I went on a roller coaster of trying products which will work and then stop working, and then after 4 months stop working. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why that was happening.
Yeah.
My general practitioner couldn't figure out why that was happening. And later when I saw a dermatologist under the NHS, he couldn't figure out why that was happening. So I was just lost. I just thought I was one of those weird ones.
Yeah.
So I had so many products and I didn't want to throw them away because I knew they once worked. And then later they didn't, even though I didn't change my regimen. So I built all this up in my drawer. And when I was moving from one accommodation to another, I remember my dad will be helping me move. And this bag just got heavier and heavier. And what are you doing with all this? Why are you not throwing it away? And I said, you know what? One day I'm going to figure out why these products, why my skin became tolerant to them.
Right.
Why it's working. And I have now, and I'll come on to that at the end.
Okay.
So that was what was happening. So my mistakes, the main mistakes I made was not reading ingredients and just putting anything and everything on. And then I thought, okay, you know what, I need some help. Went to the general practitioner. He gave me some antibiotics, the ointment, and again that helped for maybe about a month. And it was one of those, I don't know whether you saw them, they look like cylindrical ones with a fabric top, and then you just rub it on your skin, you close it and then put it away, and then you take it and then you rub it again. It had clindamycin antibiotics in it.
Okay.
And now that I think about it, that was very unhygienic because you put it on your skin.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, yeah.
And at that time, I didn't really think about it because I'm thinking, a doctor gave it to me. He knows what he's doing. So I didn't question it. But yeah, again, that worked for 1 month. And then I think my skin just became resistant to the antibiotic, the bacteria on my skin. So that stopped working. Then I went back and he prescribed Skinneren, and which is azelaic acid 20%.
Okay.
This did wonders.
Nice.
This helped. So it helped with my acne and helped with my pigmentation at the same time.
Okay.
Usually what I found with the over-the-counter products was whenever I tried to treat my acne, my pigmentation was getting worse. When I tried to get rid of my pigmentation, my acne would get worse because it would have some comedogenic property in there. I didn't know which ones were comedogenic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helped. And then 6 months in, he said he couldn't prescribe it anymore. And I was like, what? And he said, oh, because we need to take you off it for a few months before you go back on it, because you've been on it for too long. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to go outside? And after about 2 months, then the spots started coming back again.
Oh man.
Because I was continuing to use the normal moisturizers. This wasn't the only thing I used. I was using, I think, one of the Clearasil moisturizers, one of the over-the-counter moisturizers. And I think what irritated my skin in the moisturizer was being kept at bay by this. And when I got rid of this, that irritation came back with just angry breakouts.
Yeah.
And every time I get a breakout, I will hyperpigment. So that's what happened. Then I was I went on that roller coaster ride up and down, trying each time for about 3-4 months, and then changing over.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So the cause of my my pigmentation was definitely acne and contact dermatitis, which I didn't know at the time. I just learned recently that it was contact dermatitis, and I'll again come on to that later. By this time, I was at medical school. But when I was after I tried the azelaic acid, I was at medical school, and I started learning about the skin and learning about actives. And now I started educating myself about the skin and the physiology and what happens. So, and I started reading a lot of paper as well. So I started going behind evidence-based medicine. And I started looking out for actives. So this time when I went into Boots, I was a little bit more educated, a little bit more mature. So I went in and I was keeping an eye out for actives. But even then I did something silly. So I'll come across retinol and I'll just walk right past it, because I'll be like, you know what, because it's always advertised as anti-aging, advertised for acne at that time anyway. So you have over the counter. I'm like, oh, I have years for that. I don't care about you right now. I have bigger things. All right, I'll walk right past it. And I tried kojic acid, alpha-arbutin, all of that over the counter. We don't have hydroquinone here. But I'm glad I didn't, because knowing myself, I probably would have come out with rebound hyperpigmentation.
Right.
I know there's a rule about trying it for 2 months and taking a break for 2 months, and I don't think I would have been mature enough to do that. I'm glad that it wasn't here. So I tried the next best thing, which was alpha-arbutin and things like that. But even then, I wasn't getting good effect from them. And again, like the roller coaster I told you, it will work for a few months and then stop working. So what I did was I just started reading so much on the skin. Dermatology became one of my favorite topics. I think I had higher marks in dermatology than anything else, any other topic, because I was doing so much homework. And later came a brand that just changed the way skincare. I don't know whether you can guess what it is, but it completely democratized and revolutionized skincare and made responsibility for our own skin instead of just relying on a company telling us what to do. Very
big surprise.
So Ordinary, it just, when I looked at it, it really stood out to me. There was no fancy names there, like glow serum, and there was none of that. It looked simple. It was affordable. That was very important for me. And also, it had the active ingredients without any perfumes or irritating. And it also had the actives percentages. Most often now, retrospectively thinking about it, what I was doing with those products that I was getting over the counter was I'd look at the main label that you get at the front, and it says, oh, this has alpha-arbutin in it. I'm like, okay, so this is going to work. But now what I've learned is when I look back at the ingredient, the alpha-arbutin is so far down, less than its therapeutic index to work. It's probably less than like 1%. I'm probably not going to get any benefit from that. And probably had loads of these extra fragrances and things that actually irritated my skin. I didn't know this at the time. Skin was very, very sensitive to anything, even citric acid, which is normally used to balance the pH.
Mm-hmm.
That in a skincare without anything else would irritate my skin.
Yeah.
I found out later. So education was what was important for me, and also two YouTubers changed my life as well. Dr. Alexis, who I think you've had a collab video with.
Yes.
In Florida. I think she's a clinic. Yes. So I've been watching her videos. She talks a lot about contact dermatitis, and also Dr. Benita Rattan.
Yes.
She's the doctor and a cosmetic formulator here in the UK. She runs a hyperpigmentation clinic. Oh my gosh, their videos educated me more than I had ever learned.
Yeah.
And what the eureka moment for me was when I realized that I was hyperpigmenting to the irritating products in the skincare.
Yeah.
Because if you look at a medical school textbook, right, if you read up on irritation, it has a picture of a Caucasian person with red marks on their skin. Right? You don't see dark marks.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that it was contact dermatitis that I got from all these extra stuff that's being added in these ingredients. Mm-hmm. And what I actually had, what I suffered, that roller coaster ride, the reason why I was doing that, I self-diagnosed myself. It was because of delayed contact dermatitis. Yeah. So all these products, I think your skin is really good at covering it up. Mm-hmm. Dr. Benita Rattan talks about this quite a lot. Your skin can put up with an insult for a long time, and then it will just one day be like, nope, I'm not having it. And that's what was happening to me. So all these products I tried, and you remember I told you I keep it all in a box.
Yes.
I never threw. I went through them a couple of months ago. Every single one of them, I took it out. The ones that my mum didn't throw away. Yeah. I took it out. They're all like half empty, because by that time is when I start. It just stops working for me. I went through it, and all of them had irritating products such as I think limonene, limonol,
fragrance,
perfume, witch hazel. Witch hazel really irritated my skin big time, because I think it's distilled in alcohol, and then it has this other product called eugenol or something. So it had all of that. And I figured it out. I figured out why I was reacting, because all of those products had those. And when I finally found a moisturizer that didn't have any of this, my skin just started recovering itself. What I had done all that time through the repeated irritation, repeated trauma, was that I've broken my skin barrier. Mm-hmm. So any active that I tried from over the counter would sting my skin. Even when I didn't have acne, my skin didn't look normal. It looked really dull, and it just looked like it was crying out for help. Mm-hmm. And that was because my skin barrier was damaged, and nobody had diagnosed me with that. Not the doctor, not the dermatologist, not an esthetician.
Yeah.
Told me that, because if somebody had told me, listen, you have to repair your skin barrier before you start your actives, I would have done that a long time ago. And I learned that through both Dr. Rattan and Dr. Alexis. Before I get into the regimen, what I wanted to do first was, before I tried any actives, I wanted to repair my skin barrier. Mm. Because if you tried adding actives with a broken skin barrier, essentially like you've broken your skin, which is not visible to your naked eye, you're just going to cause more irritation, and that's going to lead to more hyperpigmentation. Mm-hmm. And so even though I looked at Ordinary, and the first purchase I made was niacinamide, the friendliest kid on the playground, Dr. Alexis would say. Yes. It's amazing. It does a little bit of that and a little bit of this and everything. So I purchased it, but when I first tried it, it stung. I went and washed it off, and I started to read on repairing skin barriers. The first moisturizer that I got, which didn't irritate my skin and completely restored my skin barrier, I don't know whether you even know what I'm going to say. CeraVe! It's a holy grail for me.
Yes.
So Dr. Alexis, in one of her videos, said the most important component of moisturizer are ceramides, fatty acids, and cholesterol, and also humectants. If you have a humectant in there, bonus. and humectants are like water magnets. They try and keep the water in your skin. So CeraVe had majority of that, and it really worked for me. And I was just using CeraVe with a little bit of hyaluronic acid as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the mistake of just wearing hyaluronic acid on its own once, and I was crisp dry.
Yeah, it's like
yeah. I was like, oh my God, that happened. And then later realized that if you're not in a humid, if you're in a really dry environment, it's just going to drag out of your skin.
How did an impaired skin barrier present itself to you? So what were some of the signs for you?
Oh, yes, definitely. So the skin looking really dull over time, because it didn't happen overnight. It happened over years. I'm from the age of probably 20, from trying various products. So the skin had a really rough texture, and it's a bumpy. I mean, I do still have some indented scars from those deep acne, cystic acne I had.
Yeah.
The irregularity in the skin and the dullness of the skin. And when you try an active, it will sting. Niacinamide stung. Salicylic acid stung. I repurchased this to see if I can give it a go. Stung. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do some reading into this. Because when I said this, I actually saw a dermatologist under the NHS. He prescribed me, for my acne, he prescribed me oral retinoids, and that helped at that time. So this was years back. But when my acne went, he didn't know what to do about my hyperpigmentation. And he said, oh, just buy a moisturizer over the counter. And that was it. That was the education I had on it. And yeah, so
Wow.
I went to Boots, and I went on my ride again.
Yeah.
Things, but it really definitely helped my sebum production and acne, actual acne. But the pigmentations were very stubborn. They were not moving. So when I tried this for the pigmentation, it really stung. So I did some reading, and after I read and after watching the videos, I was like, yep, this is it. I've damaged my skin barrier.
Yeah.
So moisturizer, CeraVe is what really repaired it. So after a few weeks of using CeraVe, I would now and then just put a little bit of niacinamide on to see if it stung. And it took about 2 months.
Wow.
Of religiously using moisturizer at night and using sunscreen in the morning. And we really go on about sunscreen, and I didn't start using sunscreen until the age of, I think, 23.
Okay.
Because I didn't know at the time that you were supposed to. Not people weren't big on it back in that days. And the only sunscreen, after I realized I had to use it, so this azelaic acid, when I was prescribed this, again, my GP didn't tell me this. I had to look online and found out that you had to use sunscreen with this. So that's when I went into Boots, and I'm like, oh, show me the sunscreen section. And they went and showed it to me, and it was all chemical sunscreen. There was not a single physical sunscreen there.
Yeah.
So actually, to be completely honest, I didn't even know there was such thing as physical and chemical.
Yeah. No, a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't know.
Oh, I'm so happy.
No, seriously, a lot of people, like when I was doing my mineral sunscreen videos, people would be like, why don't you try Supergoop Unseen? I'm like, because it's not a mineral, like that's a great sunscreen for some people, but it's not mineral, A lot of people don't know, yeah.
So I went in, and they only had chemical sunscreen, and all I would look for is an SPF of 50. And later I found out that most of the sunscreen had denatured alcohol, which again irritated my skin.
Yeah.
Majority of people will be fine with denatured alcohol. People like my mum with really tough skin would be completely fine with something like that. And my sisters, they're fine as well. But my skin will get irritated because it's very sensitive. And some of them had comedogenic ingredients in there, like isopropyl palmitate, I think. So yeah, I later found out after my education, I took out all my sunscreens and found out, oh look, I had a moisturizer that could have caused all this problem. And to top it off, the sunscreen I was using every 2 to 3 hours could have also caused all my problems.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so my morning routine, so that's what I did for about 6 weeks with the moisturizer. Repaired my skin barrier. Then after about 2 months, then I started slowly introducing actives. So the first one that I started introducing was niacinamide, vitamin B3 with zinc, the ordinary.
Yes.
And oh yeah, it definitely is the friendliest kid on the block. It works with everything, and it does a little bit of everything. It helps with hydration, prevents transecdermal water loss, and it helps with pigmentation a little bit as well.
Would you say your skin is more on the drier side?
It's a combination skin.
Okay.
I will find it dry on some days, I'll find it really oily on some days, which is another reason why I've had trouble finding products.
Yeah.
Even, let's say, combination skin, my skin's like, no, I'm not going to respond to
you.
Yeah,
I feel like combination skin is something that we may need to kind of strike from the vernacular, because it's, you know, it can mean so many different things.
So morning routine is a cleanser. That's hydrating cleanser from CeraVe. So I do this in the mornings. The morning is about prevention. So I have it. So if I'm going to stay at home, I will use this in the morning.
Okay.
If I'm going to go out to work or go out during the day, I won't use any of that. I will just use the CeraVe. And then I will top it up with sunscreen. My sunscreen, I actually got most of my sunscreen options from you.
Oh, wow.
I call you my sunscreen queen, because I think you've probably tried all the sunscreens out there. And you know, I used to think that I didn't have any options with sunscreens. I used to think, oh, I've tried all the sunscreens out there, nothing works for me. And only after seeing your videos, I realized how many are actually out there.
Yeah.
I have many criteria, so it has to be mineral for me. The chemical ones, just, I think a lot of them had denatured alcohol just to make them more easier to apply. But I tend to rely more on the mineral. But I do have one of the chemical sunscreens, which I really like. The bio worked well for me for many months. And the mineral, my absolute favorite mineral one that I'm using now is Pipette.
Really? You know, people keep trying to get me to review that one.
Yeah, this is the only one that you had it. So out of the ones that you had recommended, I tried a few. I think what the problem is with UK, I can't get a lot of those sunscreens here. Like Supergoop, the matte screen one is just been out of stock on Amazon for ages, and the COTS one, which I really wanted to try, that's been as well. But I can apparently get it on this other website, which costs like twice as more. The problem was I really want to try them all, but I wish I can just come to the US, you know, just to try all your sunscreen. My standards for sunscreen are, it had to be mineral, it had to be SPF, it shouldn't have any fragrance in it, and it shouldn't have any irritating products in it. I don't mind the white cast so much if it's going to give protection. And now with the mask on, who's going to know if I look like a ghost? And I'm also using the Aveeno Baby on the days I'm at home and I've got UV coming through the window.
Yes.
But I'm really waiting for the COTS one that you were talking about. And I know you use this other one. I'm really waiting. I'm waiting to order that. It's £26. I looked online. I think it's Peter Thomas Roth Instant. The powder
brush. Peter Thomas Roth
one, isn't it? I'm waiting for that because I don't wear makeup. I'm waiting for like an occasion where I do wear makeup and then I can top it up. With that. So I'm definitely going to purchase that. It's £26. It is online. So that's it for the morning. It's all about prevention. Cleanse, moisturize, sunscreen. And evening, I always use this micellar simple wash. I get it from Boots. You can get it from Superdrug as well, I think, here in the UK. And oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's gentle. It doesn't strip your skin. Because what I found with other cleansers that I've tried in the past is it gives you that squeaky clean feeling, but that's not good, because what you've done is just stripped off the protective layer. Well, I have actually several regimen. If I'm going to be exfoliating, which I do twice a week or sometimes once a week, depending on how my skin is. And if I'm going to do exfoliating, I use the Paula's Choice BHA exfoliant. You've probably heard a lot about it. It's like everyone's raving about it. How did I live without it? I really don't know how I got life without it. Oh, it's amazing. You know, the following day your skin is just like shining. But you know what? If I had tried this while my skin barrier was broken,
you would have hated it.
I would have.
Your skin would have been like,
yeah. Oh, that doesn't work. I would have probably written a complaint to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I started listening to my skin and educating, that's what's important. So yeah, I'll do the toner first. So Paula's Choice toner, the pore reducing toner. I'll do this first, and then follow it with an exfoliant, and then just keep it simple. Really, I will use the alpha-arbutin. Where is that? Here, alpha-arbutin. And then I've only got a sample size of this. I don't have the big one. This is Paula's Choice Omega Complex Moisturizer.
Okay. I think Dr. Alexis might have mentioned that in her vitamin F video. Yeah.
She did definitely. Yeah. When she was talking about the linoleic and the oleic acid differences. So I didn't know that before she mentioned it. I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention about the fatty acid profiles.
I know that when I've had acne expert on the channel, she mentioned some of the oleic. I don't know if I'm conflating oleic with the linoleic, but you know, guys, it's on the video, so you can check it out.
So she actually talked about, Dr. Alexa said that, you know, unsaturated fatty acids help with melanin production. They actually reduce pigmentation, whereas saturated fatty acids worsen pigmentation. And then I thought about it. Some of the moisturizers, as well as causing me spots and, you know, irritation, it actually directly caused some pigmentation for me as well. I'll look darker the very next day. Or like a few weeks later of using that moisturizer, and then I put the two and two together, and I thought, oh, it probably had saturated fat. But you're not going to find a moisturizer that has just unsaturated fatty acids. You just have to look at the INCI list and to see where it is on the list. So this one has a lot of linoleic acid, and it helps with your repairing your skin barrier as well. So I put this on top. So it would be, if it's an exfoliant day, it would be toner and then exfoliant, and then something like alpha-arbutin, very, very simple. And then this, and then I go in with my CeraVe moisturizer to top it up.
Okay.
And I actually use, just to make sure I cap the moisturizer and to prevent the transepidermal water loss, I top it up with squalene. The squalene, this is from Me Plus here, and available in the Superdrug in the UK.
Yeah. And
this is amazing. You know, you top it does feel a little bit oily, but this is the closest you can get to your skin oil. So it doesn't,
and then you're going to bed, so it's like, you know, you make sure you do it in advance so it's not staining your sheets, but you're going to bed, so it's not like, you know, you're going out in the world with a shiny face, you know.
Exactly. I got so used to it that I can't not put it on. But I did Dr. Alexa's video where she says if you use a BHA exfoliant, try not to use an oil on the same regimen, because instead of breaking the oil in your skin, your BHA is going to try and break the oil.
Oh, that makes sense.
So then I was like, okay. So on I'll just leave out the oil. Even though I want to desperately apply it. And then there's once a week I do vitamin C. And vitamin C had always been something that I stayed clear of because it always irritated my skin. Over the counter. But after I repaired my skin barrier, it doesn't irritate it so much, but there is still that tingling. So what I started to do was wean myself in.
Mm.
And I started spot treating, as in like on the hyperpigmentation areas, and I used a sandwich method, which all the dermatologists will tell you. So
Yes.
moisturizer and then vitamin C and then moisturizer on top. And now I got my skin used to it. Now we can take it.
Yes.
And vitamin C I use is Face Theory, Regina.
Okay. Yes.
It was recommended by Dr. Rattan on Instagram and one of her videos as well.
Yeah.
So that one I use, and on the days I use that, I try not to use niacinamide. Now I know that Ordinary had based it on this old research.
Yes.
And it doesn't apply to us anymore. But there is another reason why I don't use it. Niacinamide is close to your skin's pH, so about 5. It works well in the pH of 5.5, whereas your vitamin C needs a lower pH to work.
Yeah.
So just for that reason, I don't want to render anything ineffective. So I just use it in the same regimen.
Yeah, yeah.
On the days that I'm using vitamin C, I use the this one, salicylic acid cleanser from Sinthu, just to lower the pH a little bit, to make sure that the vitamin C has an optimum pH to work at.
Okay.
So I do that, and there are other actives. So once a week I use the vitamin C, like I said, and twice a week I use the retinol. I tried the retinol 1% from the Ordinary initially. Irritated my skin. Started hyperpigmenting and straight away in the bin. So then I educated myself more, and I got the Granactive emulsion, which is much gentler on the skin.
Yeah.
So I went in with the sandwich method of the moisturizer and then the retinoid and then the moisturizer on top. And then as my skin got used to it, I started incorporating niacinamide with retinoid. They work synergistically really well.
Nice.
And then moisturizer, and then comes your capping with oil. So that's the retinoid. And I, in the mornings, if I'm going to stay at home, sometimes I do use the Skinner, and if I get a spot or if I feel hyperpigmentation is coming on, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation from a spot, then this works on the spot as well as the hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
So for me, it took years because I damaged to see any improvement, because I damaged my skin barrier. And I wouldn't say I have perfect skin now, far from it. But what I don't mind that, because it's about the journey that I've taken, how much I've learned in that time, and I've still got some way to go. But at least I know what I'm doing now is correct.
Yeah.
I think I still have indented scars from my acne, but I've repaired my skin barrier, and I've gotten rid of majority of my hyperpigmentation. And I think with hydration and good care and keeping away from irritants, I'm sure my scars will improve to some extent. And then at some point, I might need some dermatological intervention, such as microneedling, probably to get rid of it. But I'm focusing currently on just getting my skin back to where it was.
I think that's really beautiful what you said about, like, my skin isn't perfect, but that's not the point. It's the journey and learning. Because I do feel like we can, like, look with the big mirror, not the big mirror, the magnifying mirror, and be like, oh my God, there's this here, and it can be a little much.
I there was a point where I wasn't going out with my friends. I will stay at home. I wouldn't go out after when it was daylight. So I used to freak out at summertime. I would only want to go in the evenings. I was having like a lunch party. I'm like, nope, I'm not going. I'll make up some excuse. And I stopped meeting up with friends, and it really affected me psychologically. And I was in a dark place.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I had no help. The doctors meant to be helping me were no help at all.
Yeah.
So that way I've come a long way now. because I can confidently go out. And I sort of, even the imperfections I have now, I own it. The main message that I want to get out there is just don't fall for marketing gimmicks. Not fall for fancy labels. You educate yourself, you empower yourself, you read it yourself, and you take responsibility for your own skincare. Don't rely on a company telling you what to do.
I told y'all, wasn't it worth watching this video? I mean, I had the timestamps in there so you can get in and get out where you needed to go, leave some bookmarks and whatnot. But I think it was a really important story to hear. Thank you again to Sinthu for coming on the channel, being so gracious to share everything that she's learned in dealing with her hyperpigmentation. Now, some of the things that she mentioned isn't going to be applicable for everyone. But what I think really is the point to be driven home here is that you really need to take the time. Be patient. Clearing your hyperpigmentation is not something that is gonna come overnight, within a week. There's no magic potion, but essentially, no matter what you're using in your routine to clear your skin, there are a couple things that you definitely need to have. Patience, consistency, and the right knowledge for your skin. So definitely keep that in mind. Check out the other videos in this series because to me it's really fascinating to learn how all of these people, amazing people that have come on the channel, have cleared their skin and how they did it in many different ways. So make sure you check out the other videos in the series. Follow me on social. I will leave the links in the description box and I will see you fine folks in my next video. Bye guys.